Okay, so I know that ascension means awakening to skills, gifts, talents, and abilities, but does everyone have them? And how do you know when you have them? As we move more and more into our authentic being, we will begin to learn that we can do many more things than we ever thought. One of those things we can do is heal with our hands, which is the gift of awakening to Reiki. And that's what we're going to talk about during this program. Welcome to the Collective Awakening, where we have cozy conversations with all kinds of lightworkers, way showers, and healers on a variety of hot ascension topics. I'm your host, Debbie DuBois, and I want to thank you for joining me to talk about everything from new relationships, twin flames, and sacred unions, to tarot and astrology, to Chinese medicine and advancing healing modalities, and more. The Collective Awakening is brought to you by the RVF Radio Network and True Sacred Union's The Awakening Toolbox. Heed the call to conscious living with the Collective Awakening. Well, everybody, it is Debbie DuBois here. I want to welcome you to today's show, The Collective Awakening. I'm so happy to be here today. Just before we get started, I want to share just a little bit about a new healthy ritual that I'm beginning for myself. It was pointed out to me by a healing friend of mine that my morning coffee was actually a morning ritual, and that it was the ritual itself that was actually affecting my body. And I didn't really understand what that meant. I knew that the coffee was working against the alkalization of my body, but as she was talking to me a little bit about it, I realized I sipped this cup of coffee for, all day long. It was like maybe 3/4 of a cup of coffee. But I noticed after she brought it up that it was very much affecting, when I wouldn't feel right, I'd grab for that little sip of that coffee. It was like my crutch. So not only was it not alkalizing my body, it was actually creating a kind of codependency, a dependency, and it was showing up in other areas. So it was really interesting. I decided to start a new healthy ritual, and I gave up the coffee. Now I am a week out from giving up the coffee, thank God. But, so I started this morning and I did some celery juice, and I prepared some lemon lime water, some Chinese tea, a blend that I do. And my message here is that sometimes we just don't think that we have time to take care of ourselves. But, we really do need to stop and take that time, create the rituals that we need to nourish our bodies, or to just rest our bodies, or just, honor them, because they are the vehicles that we are using here. And, that is, along the lines of the topic that we're going to be talking about today is, our gifts, our skills, our talents, our abilities, all of the things that have been showing up in our awakenings are happening because we allow the space for them. And they also are being kind of moved through us by our higher selves and source. So on that topic, we are going to talk about awakening to Reiki. My guest is Krystine Torella. Krystine is an associate broker and team leader of her own real estate team, as well as a 2-time recipient of the 5-Star Professionals Top Real Estate Agents Award. And she was also awarded accolades for being in the top 2% of real estate agents here in Atlanta. And if that is not enough of an accomplishment, she's also a member of the Association of Reiki Practitioners and is a Reiki Master Healer with her own Reiki practice in Kennesaw, Georgia. And to me, most importantly, she is a dear friend and business colleague of mine. I am so excited to have her here on the show to talk about her awakening into Reiki healing. Welcome, Krystine, to the Collective Awakening.
Oh, thank you so much for having me, Debbie. I'm glowing just hearing everything you've said so far.
Oh, it's just so nice to have you here. I mean, I wanted to take a moment first to introduce how we met because I think it's a real demonstration of how the world works, like in these most mysterious ways. We were
Yes,
what at Westcott Business Association. What do you
yes.
remember about that?
I remember we were at an after hours networking event that I dragged myself to because I just don't. And by the end of the workday, that's the last thing I feel like doing is talking to more people, but I always enjoy it when I get there. And I don't know if you read my energy that night and thought, oh, I need to reach out and touch her, or how it even occurred, but you introduced yourself, and we had a nice conversation about what you do for a living, the marketing side of what you do. And I had just gotten the idea, the brainchild of Zen Den, the Reiki studio, and I desperately needed some kind of advertising and website design and all of the things that you do. And so we were just connected right from that moment. And it was the
Yeah.
universe putting us all right where we needed to be, for sure.
It's so funny because that's the last place I expected to meet a really spiritual being. Of course, but
Exactly.
that is what's so amazing about what's happening.
Mhm.
And I think that's what we found, right? When we connected, it
Yes.
was kind of like, oh my gosh, my sister.
Right, that's right. Where'd you come from? How'd you know?
Right. How did we
That was
find
your question to me. You were like, "How did you know that I know how to do this?" And I said, "I had no idea, but I just felt like." And I'd met, of course, lots of marketing people in the circles that we network in,
right.
but I just felt like, I don't know, she's going to understand what I need to do, and let me give her a try. And it was all divinely led. That's really the best way I can describe it, and it's been perfect. I'm so happy with everything you did in that realm.
Oh, I'm so glad. Well, what's really funny is, when we first met and you told me where, what real estate agency you worked with, and,
Hmm.
we found some common people. I had done a website for one of your colleagues, and I
Hmm.
just assumed you needed a real estate website, to be honest with you, once we said goodbye to each other. So we
Uh-huh.
arranged that Zoom meeting. And then when we
Hmm.
got on and you're like, well, I'm gonna open a Reiki studio. I'm like, oh, no way.
Yeah, that was your reaction.
I
Um,
know.
See, I thought you just looked at my original real estate website and said, "Oh, this girl needs help," which
Oh no,
we'll,
that
we'll
was
we'll work on that one next. But I will let Coldwell Banker take that one over, since they maintain it. We'll let them handle it.
we'll let them handle it for now.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
But well, it was even freakier, if you ask me, was that,
Hmm.
then we started talking and I was showing you examples of Lightworker resumes, websites that I had
Hmm.
worked on, and I showed you mine. And then we were talking about Marla, and then we started talking about um a workshop in Banff, Canada that I was
Yes,
going to, like, within what, a week to facilitate.
something like that. Yes. Uh-huh.
Oh my gosh. And so you were like, "Oh my God, that
I
sounds
have
amazing."
to go. I'm
Yes.
going.
And I could not believe that. I was like, "Okay." So, and it was on a topic that you weren't even really, like, familiar with. So you were just kind of like,
Right.
but you just felt that call to go.
Yes, yes, yes. There was no doubt when you told me what it was. Well, actually, I had to research the twin flame theory, and all of all of that
Right.
you did. But when you told me where you were going, what you were going to be doing there, that and there was someone else, Kelly was there doing Reiki. Angie does Reiki. So um it was a natural draw for me.
Right.
But I also had, I am sure I probably told you this, but if not, I'll tell you again, is that I scripted for this, meaning that this is something that I wrote in my book of things that I want in my life, where I try to manifest, well, I don't try, where I manifest things as I write them down as though I already want them. So what I was writing for was to be given opportunities for more travel in my life and for great connections and um, great souls that I was to meet on this trip, and that's what I wanted to gain out of it. I didn't care if nothing else happened there for me, but I wanted to have those connections of people that I knew in a deep way cared about me, that I was going to care about as well, and just for the universe to put all of that together. And
Wow.
that so happened with you, for one, and I love that we live so close to each other, and
I
that
know.
we can have like a real live relationship with each other,
Right.
supporting each other, and going through this whole transition from 3D to 5D.
Right.
It's so fun to have someone right here that I can connect with in a eye to eye.
I just
But
chilled on that. Yep.
right, and but then, the friendships that I forged with Carol and Marcy and Cheryl and Sarah and countless other people who Angie, everyone
Yeah.
that we had on that trip was just, that was a soul sister moment
Uh,
that we all felt collectively, and it was amazing, and we still carry it. We all are in contact, and taking care
yeah.
of each other long distance and meeting up when we can. I've got a trip that I'm scripting for right now that I manifest, with some of these people. So I'm
Wow.
just I'm amazed at the way that everything has worked, and I shouldn't be amazed, because I know that God and universe and my higher self and all of those things, angels, all of our guides, combined, are all working for us to have the most wonderful things in the world and all the abundance in the world, and all we have to do is just ask for it and believe that we can have it. That's my theory
Absolutely.
anyway.
Oh, yeah. And I'll tell you, on that trip, it was like I remember feeling a little bit concerned because I was like, here I've got this business associate that it's just sort of like jumping in. And I'm thinking, oh, I want her to be comfortable and I want her to make friends. And I mean, I just felt that whole energy there. And it was
Mhm.
so beautiful to see all
Yeah.
the connections. Those, as much as I love the online workshops that we all do,
Mhm.
and the ones that are coming, there's lots more coming. But
Mhm.
as much as I love those, there has to be those live events as well, where people
Mhm.
just, because we have hug fests, don't we?
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Incredible.
Yes, and that I was able to practice Reiki on people there, that
Yep.
just spontaneously happened, and they were all enough of a moving event that I was able, where I am able to blog about them and have, keep those as experiences, and um, to make my tool belt even wider. So
Yeah.
it did so many wonderful things for me and my energy and my life in general,
Yeah.
that you want to stay in that bubble, like we all said. Like, I don't want to leave and go back to the real world, but the real world needs us here to spread
Right.
that joy and that light that we had there.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I actually got to experience Reiki firsthand from you because we were packed with this event, like moment after moment of with people, and my body, I remember at one point just having a bunch of tension and headache at the end of like 2 days or something, and you worked on me and it was like,
Mm.
ah, and we can support each other and we can
Mhm.
nurture each other that way. So yeah,
Yes.
it's an incredible experience. I wanted to talk just a little bit about your awakening, because one of the reasons why I wanted to have you on the show, aside from the fact that I adore you,
Mhm.
but one of the reasons why is that I know that there are a lot of people that are going to be awakening to new skills, new talents, new abilities. Even people who are awake now consciously are beginning to develop some skills that they really previously didn't know that they had. So I wanted to talk a little bit about that because you come from basically a very traditional background, don't you? I mean, you real estate and being a associate broker and
Hmm.
yeah,
Yes,
tell me.
yeah, completely different from the Reiki world. I I have been always been in business that way as far as banking um, and software development. I was a business analyst before I became a real estate agent, and I became a real estate agent by accident because I'd been laid off from the software job, and it happened when everyone in the whole world got laid off from internet jobs and everything else, unless you had all kinds of skills, which I will admit I did not. I was enjoying that job and I did a good job at it, but I was expendable for sure. As I look back, I didn't think that then. I needed counseling then, but no, it caused me though to get into real estate when my girlfriend asked me. She was doing it, and she said, "You look like somebody that I think would be really good at this." And I said, "I don't know. I'm a little bit nervous. I see a lot of papers. I'm not a paperwork person." And she said,
Yeah.
"Oh, you don't have to do it like this. I'll help you. I'll send you." Actually, she paid for me to go to real estate school. And so a whole bunch of times later, it took me a whole lot to get my license because I am a well, I was a bad test taker. I'm not any longer. I've overcome that, but I had a real fear of taking tests,
Right.
and I struggled a lot getting through it. I had to memorize everything to get me through that test, but I kept going back until I passed, and I've been completely grateful for that ever since. It's been,
Right.
I think, well, since 2002, so 17 years this year
Wow.
that I've done this, and have gone through a lot. As anybody knows, the
Hmm.
real estate market's done a lot of different things, but it's always done me well, and I love giving back by having people working with me on a team, and letting them flourish and grow and be their own person too when they're ready. So
Right.
that's that was, yeah, my life up until this past summer when I had been doing a little bit of soul searching while I was traveling during the summer, and looking at family history, talking to my surviving family members that knew my grandparents, my great grandparents, my great great grandparents, and just hearing the stories of them.
Hmm.
And when I had shared with them the fact that I had gone through a couple of Reiki trainings, I guess I should probably explain to people who aren't familiar with what Reiki actually is,
Yeah.
um, what the process. Well, I'll explain a little bit about what Reiki is so that people aren't in
Sure.
the dark completely about that.
Yeah.
It's a healing energy that comes from the source of whatever you believe in, where energy comes from. For some, it's God. For some, it's the universe. For some, it's spirit. For some, it's angels. Some, it's higher self. I don't exclude any kind of. I don't put any religion to it at all for myself. I'm just open to the good energy that comes through me, that I'm able to put my hands on people in a light touch, and feel where they have um, a blockage, a struggle with pain, or with a mental blockage. And I feel for that, and I attempt to pull that bad energy out, and refuel it with good energy coming through me. Um,
Gotcha.
that's the best way that I can describe it. Uh,
Right.
and so that's where that comes from.
Well, I was going to
Uh,
say, so when how did you discover that you actually had this, or you told me a little bit about when you brought up scripting. There was a period in your life that you actually met someone that that taught you about scripting and things of that
Yes.
nature? Okay,
Yes.
tell me about that.
Joyce Reynolds is she's motivator of one or a thousand is what she goes by. And she's a beautiful lady, and she's someone that I was invited to her class in 2011. And I went, and the first thing that I had written in my scripting book, which what she teaches many different things, but that was what the class was on, and that's writing down what you want as though you already have it, manifesting things using the laws of attraction, creating abundance, things like that is what your goal is in this class. And
Right.
so I was brand new to thinking this way. I had no idea that people thought about things like this.
Wow.
And
Hmm.
the first thing that I wrote in my scripting book was, I wish I had my own business, but I'm afraid. And when I looked at that sentence, I had to pick it apart completely to understand what was I afraid of.
Hmm.
And from that, I created a business plan and saw that I could overcome every single one of those fears. And that's where my independent real estate company came from. When I left a larger uh, company and I opened up my own brokerage, that's how I started doing that, by writing that out and then just going from there and just watching it come into fruition. So I credit, those years that I did that to Joyce, and for teaching me how to believe that I could do it. So another thing that Joyce teaches is Reiki classes. So there's 3 levels of Reiki: 1, 2, and 3. 1 and 2 usually are taught together in a weekend, and then the third one separately. But when you get the third one, then you become a Reiki master. And for um, all three of the levels, you are given attunements, and those um, aid you in giving your Reiki and making your Reiki stronger than what it naturally is, because we all have the ability to give Reiki. Um, so
Right.
we just need to know how to tune into it.
Right.
And so that's how I started doing it. I took the first 2 classes from Joyce in 2014, and practiced on myself a lot. That was, as you were talking about self-care,
Yeah.
that's so important for someone who practices Reiki, who gives Reiki to other people, that we practice on ourselves on a regular basis, because you are your best testimonial. I think you would believe me if I told you that I've uh, stubbed, as an example, stubbed my toe beyond the belief of pain, where the pain is like white, bright lightning just flashing before your eyes, and all you can think about is, cussing or kicking, using your good foot into whatever hurt your bad foot.
Right.
That's what you're thinking about. So
Yeah.
once I get past those emotions, I will apply my hands to the affected spot and ask for my Reiki to work and to come through. And I need you now. Angels, whoever is out there right now that's available, please run this Reiki through my hands and into my toe. And I promise you that it works, and it works quickly. I've had to do it in snap moments, and it works quickly for myself. So I will say all day long that I've been able to take pain away from myself. Um,
Wow. Well, it's interesting that you should say that, because um, ever since I've had a couple of sessions with Krystine, and every single time, I mean, I have felt so incredibly relaxed and everything afterwards, and it's been such a
mm,
positive experience. And it's funny, because what I've done is I've actually turned around, and I've realized that I have healing in my hands as well, that I have not
mm,
developed and focused into. And of course, that, leads to a whole new topic that we'll talk about in a minute. But I have, both of my children just had their wisdom teeth out. Both
mm,
of them got to a place in their healing process where they were extremely uncomfortable, to where it was
mm,
like getting uncomfortable for me. And it, because you just want to help them, make
Yeah,
them
you want
feel
to take it
better.
away. Mhm.
Right. So I called upon all of my entourage and the source
Mhm.
energy, and I just placed my hands right on their faces and their head,
Yes.
kind of like you do with
Mhm.
me. And I just
Yes.
asked for some healing. And both girls, the very next day, they were like better. They felt so
Wow.
much better. And they
Yay.
actually said, well, my oldest, who is just like so 3D, she doesn't want anything to do with 5D. I
Uh,
talk about wanting my spaceships. I'm ready for my light ship. And she's like, not me. I want my car. I want a car with wheels, and I want to drive it, and I want to go to college, and I want to have, and I'm like, okay. But anyways, but she was one that actually said, wow, mom, I felt that. So and even my husband, was having some issues and has allowed me, and now he remembers the name Reiki, and he'll say, mom did Reiki on me. And I'm like, wow. So he
Yay.
is,
I
so
love it.
I do too. So what I was going to tell you is that as a master Reiki practitioner, you have the ability to teach, correct?
I do, yes.
Yay.
Yes.
Well,
I've
guess what?
taught. I've, would you like to be a student?
I probably do.
Yay, I would love to.
Yeah, I think that's in my future very, very soon, because I think that, like you said, it's so important to understand that as we
Mhm.
are awakening, these talents and these gifts, they are blossoming through us,
Mhm.
and we never know what's going to happen next. And we think, okay, well, now I know how to do Reiki, and then all of a sudden you find out, oh, and I can foretell future events, and I can, there's so many
Right.
things that are coming to us. We're just really in the, I want to say, in the infant stages
Mhm.
of working within these new avatar bodies that we have. And I just thought I'd share that about the healing hands, because
I love that. I love that. That's exactly what you did. You did Reiki on them. If you're feeling, if you've got your hands on someone that you love,
Mhm.
someone that you care about, and you know that they have pain, and you're asking for any kind of source to give you some healing to give to them,
Mhm.
you've done it. You've
Yeah.
got you don't even need the class. No.
But
No, I need to
I
give you
will.
you need attunements.
I know.
But
Yeah.
but no, you did. You gave them Reiki, and I love that.
Yeah.
I'm happy to hear that story. And
Yeah.
it's you do it to yourself too, when you're feeling a headache, place your hands wherever that headache is, just like you normally would, like, how you do it in grief, like, yeah, I don't, my head hurts, and you're just going to put your hand on your head, but really feel
Right.
for where is that headache, and hold your hand there, and ask for the Reiki energy to come through, and then just pull it away. When you
Yeah.
feel like that energy is flowing, then just pull your hand away from that area and throw that energy out, and then put your hand back. Keep doing that over and over, and you're going to feel a dissipation in that headache.
Wow. I
Yeah.
love that. Yeah, I've had some of those experiences. I still have work to do with you, I know, but there are, very specific instances where, I had specific issues with pain, like between my shoulder blade and my spine, and you worked on that,
Mm,
and that's been eased quite a bit. So,
great.
yeah, it's been amazing. So, all right. So tell me then, now you discovered that someone in your family
Right,
originally
right.
carried
Yeah.
this gift. Tell me a little bit about that family history.
Yeah, I started down that little rabbit hole, and then I veered off somewhere. But
Oh, it's
yeah.
okay.
I tend to do that. But so I was in New York, in upstate New York, where I grew up in, well, I'll just say Carthage, New York. Shout out
Which
the
I
village.
did. I was gonna say which I did as well, because I was in Fairport, New York. So how far? We
That's
were
right.
close. Yep.
Yes, we were, and who knew?
I
But
know. Okay. So you're in upstate New York.
right. So I'm up there, and I go up usually once a year when I know that it's not going to snow and I'm not going to roast. So August is usually the best time. And
Yeah.
this last time I spent about 2 weeks, and luckily I have family and friends that love me and let me stay with them wherever I am. And so I was talking with my cousins, and they had saved articles of my great great grandmother's obituary and her estate being divided among her children and her grandchildren, and also my great grandmother's. It was the history all the way back to about 140 years, is what they had in newspaper articles that I was able to
Wow.
make copies of, and I actually find myself reading them often because they're so interesting to me to hear the history of what my family was doing back in 1900 and 1905, and when they were born in 1877. It was just, I ended up going down the rabbit hole of researching where my great great grandmother was born in Italy, and that's on my bucket list. I am going to visit this little tiny village. I know that I'll get there,
Yeah.
but I have to. So her name was Rosa, and she was born in 1877. And Rosa outlived, I think, three of her children. I'm pretty sure. Three of them had passed away before she did at the age of 88, which that was in 1966. She passed away 6 months after I was born. I'm sorry, 4 months after I was born. And that was a old age for back then. Usually people were dying. My great grandmother, her daughter, had passed away at age 57. So she outlived my great grandmother, and she was the
Wow.
lady. Yeah, it was interesting. Her son was a captain in the army and was at the bridge of Remagen and deemed a hero uh, for getting people off the bridge before it was blown up by the Germans. And
Well, that was a
it
really
was,
famous, that was a very
yeah,
famous thing, wasn't it? The
it
bridge
was,
of
yeah, it,
what does it say? Remagen?
Remagen.
Okay.
Yeah, and I hope I got the history correct, that whoever blew it up, because I'm right in the middle of reading the book now. I found
Oh,
the book.
interesting.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I found the book of among my mother's belongings that I have in some of them in my garage, and I found the book the other day when I was not even looking for anything in particular, and it had a bunch of the articles about Uncle Arthur in there, and it just reminded me that that's another tie to my history, and it's really an important thing for my family, and he has recognition, which is really neat, in Carthage, on his gravestone. And then also there's a monument that has all of the people that were in World War II on there, but he's
Wow.
he's recognized. So Rosa was the woman in town that my cousins tell me that people came to for healing. So if someone had a sick baby, they would bring them to Rosa, and anything that they were, the ailing and the sick and the tired and the poor, they all came and got healing from her.
Right.
And so, from what I understand, that no one else really practiced Reiki knowingly until I started doing it. And
Wow.
so when I learned that, I realized what a gift I really do have, that I want to continue that tradition of that being in our bloodline. And so then I felt like I should get the third degree of Reiki, so I could be a master and be able to teach other people this craft. And
Right.
so that's how I ended up going back to Joyce in July and getting the third one. And then simultaneously, I met my friend Christy, who owns Legacy Massage and Wellness in Kennesaw, up in Legacy Park. And
Right.
we were in a networking meeting together, and she had um, told me that she had a headache, and I asked her, if did you know I did Reiki? And she said, no, I didn't. And she said, do you want to try? And I said, yeah, let me try. So we went and found a quiet corner, and I let her sit there with this migraine for a minute as I just felt her energy and felt just the perimeter around her head. And I could feel this pulsing heat coming out of the top of her head,
Hmm.
and I didn't even have my hands on her. I just had them above her and was grabbing hold of that heat and pulling it off. And to me, it felt like just this big rope of heat coming out of her head and me tossing it over my shoulder.
Hmm.
And I did that for about 5 minutes, and I felt like okay, it's gone, and I've done, I did as much as I can for her right now.
Mhm.
Um, and so I told her that, and she said, "My gosh," she said, "I could feel it felt like a string was coming out of the top of my head." And I said, "Well, it was a rope, but yeah, you're close." I said it was really thick, and she said, "No, that's just what it felt like." And so it was strange that she described exactly how I felt like what I was doing on my end because her eyes were closed. She wasn't in front of a mirror. I was behind her. She didn't know what I was doing up there.
Right.
So it was really a neat experience. So she let me know about 10 hours later that her migraine had stayed away all day long. And she said, "You need to do this for a living. You need to share this with other people that can use this kind of healing." And so she offered me a space within her massage studio, and I have a space in there, as you know, and
Yeah.
it's gone from there. And with you helping me with the website and the Facebook business page, that's gotten me a lot of attention, and people
Right.
have been coming in through word of mouth and through the offers that I've put out there, and it's going to get uh, even better, I know, and I'll
Yeah.
attract who's meant to come and see me, and I welcome all of
Wow. Wow. Well, you definitely, I'm ready to come in now.
them. Well, I've got an appointment at 1 o'clock, but I'm free right after that.
Oh my gosh. Wow. So, where do you see all this leading you? What are some of the things like, I mean, I know it's interesting. Well, you script.
Hmm.
So, tell me some of the things that you have scripted for your future now. Do you continue to script? Because I think I need to learn that too.
Yes, yes, I go to a class on that. Well, Joyce teaches every other Friday. I'll send you her schedule. She teaches at a bunch of different places, but the one closest to you and I is the one every other Friday.
Right.
And then, so I still enjoy that when I can get there. And then on Monday nights, I typically go to my friend and coach John Hyatt.
Hmm.
He is the Show Up Available coach and Living Your Best Life. And
Hmm.
he teaches scripting as well, and a lot of other really great tools. In fact, I have him. He comes into my sales meeting for my team, for Team Torella, the real estate team, and
Yeah.
comes in and coaches us during our sales meeting for an hour. So I really am grateful to him for everything he does for me,
Right.
and now for the people that are out here earning money with me and helping people get into and out of houses. So it's really turned into a wonderful thing for him and for I, because now he can advertise this session to other real estate companies who will hopefully see the value of what he's giving us.
Well, it sounds like I may even want to talk to him. That's the
Oh
kind of thing
yeah,
that I like to pull together for shows like this.
absolutely. Oh yes, he'd be a wonderful guest for you. I'll definitely put that connection together.
That would be great because
Yes.
I think that's one thing that all of us would be really well versed to do. I've called a similar process to that pre-paving, but not in such a formal, such a formal way as to actually sit down and write. You're actually writing out what you want to see, right? I mean,
Yes, yes.
yeah.
I'm like an example of what I would write is that trip that I'm taking to Hawaii is paid for easily and effortlessly.
Hmm.
Money is abundant because there's more money in the world than there are people, and there's enough for everyone to have to be able to do the nice things for ourselves that we need to do and to take care of ourselves. So that trip to Hawaii is already bought and paid for, and I'm on the beach enjoying the sun and my friends and all of the beauty that Hawaii has to
I need to script that right now.
offer. Yeah,
No,
so
but
do I, because
seriously.
I just made that up, but no.
Oh my gosh. Well, write that down, girl. No, seriously, I'm sitting here thinking, I can't believe how much we probably put up obstacles to what we want just based on our
Mhm.
belief systems and our thoughts. And
Oh, totally.
that we don't think like that. I mean, the
That's
world in general about everything. Who thinks
Mhm.
like that? And I guess there are certain people that are thinking like that because they're materializing their world like that.
Yes,
But they
absolutely.
probably, but those people probably come from places of abundance and prosperity anyways. So to them, it is just natural to feel like there's always money. Well, I always have money. And guess what? They continue to experience always having money.
Mm, you know, that's
Yeah.
I'm striving to be that person. I'm not that person. I'm going to tell you a little secret of where I just came up with that script. I'm
Yeah.
sitting here looking at my brand new vision board that
Okay.
I did 2 weeks ago with my team. We all sat down together and did a vision board, and then we shared them this past Friday at our sales meeting, and it was really insightful and great. So
Right.
I'm sitting here and it's in front of me as I'm talking to you because I wanted the words that jump out at me as inspiration. But there is the largest picture on here is one of palm trees, and it could be any island. But I, I have to believe that I am an abundant person, that I'm abundant in love, in money, if that's what I want, in business, in good decision making, in protection, in serving other people. I'm abundant in all of those things, and I have to believe that. But it's not always easy because then we have the 3D world of,
Yes.
oh, I just looked at my bank account and I haven't had a I haven't had a check come in for a minute because people are afraid to buy houses right now with this, the situation
Right.
with the furlough. So I totally understand. I wouldn't either. But
Right.
uh, it's I can't stay in that world because that's not going to stay like that. That's
Right.
we're going to continue to evolve and we're going to continue to move and people are going to continue to need me to take care of them in one way or another. And I just want to be open to whatever way that is.
Right.
And so that's where my head needs to be is to be show as John Hyatt loves to say, I have to show up available. We
Right.
all have to show up available for whatever is given to us on each given day. And
Hmm.
if we're not available to whatever it is, then we're either robbing someone else of something, not robbing, I shouldn't use that word, that's pretty strong, but we are, that we have things
Depriving
to
someone
give.
of. Hmm.
Yes, yes, and I'm not talking material things per
Hmm.
se, but a word of wisdom or um, something that they need to hear that day, or a warm hug, or whatever it is. And if I'm not open and available to be there for that or to receive, I'm always open to be giving to other people, but being open to receiving is
Hmm.
really difficult when you're a giver. Um, and
Interesting.
it's yes, it's something I have to consciously work on, and it's been forced on me lately where people are saying you're going to take this and you're going to do this and you're going to accept this, and
Right.
whether it's a compliment or whatever it is,
Hmm.
I have just learned to say thank you so much. I
Right.
will take that, because it allows me to be able to give back in a bigger way, when I'm full of, when I receive it. It's hard to
Hmm.
explain, but
Well, no, I think you're doing a beautiful job of explaining that. And what's very interesting about that is, the article. I've been trying to write this article, and I say trying. There goes those words again. I have been writing
mhm,
an article for the last week and a half. There's been
mhm,
so much shift and so much change, that is second I get something solidified, it's like, what do they say, nailing jello to the wall. It's like
yes,
everything's in such shift. But one of the strongest things that came out, and is part of the article that I'll probably publish like today, not to date this show, because I definitely, this show should, of course, go on into the future for anyone awakening to these talents and gifts and skills. But at this particular juncture, in this moment of now, we have an astrological event happening when we have this full moon, and we have
mhm,
this eclipse and everything else. We have been in a place where we feel almost like we're compressed and stuck in a way. We've been in this
Mhm.
place like we're in this birthing canal. One of the insights that came to me, and it's in this article that I've just written, is how we are those of us, there's this, and it goes back to Atlantis, and I do have very few past life recalls, but I do have an experience that I've recalled from Atlantis where I was a mediator. And I was a mediator between what were called the Sons of Belial, which were the service to self individuals, which we would, term one side of our aisle, the way traditional world thinks, and
Mhm.
the service to others, which would we in this day and age would term the other side of the aisle. And what I had to do was bridge the gap between the two. In this lifetime, I am back here again, and this relates to what you're saying, is that those people who have programs of serving others, the universe is forcing us to learn to take care of ourselves as well.
Mm.
There has to be a balance. A lot of times we talk about the feminine and masculine balance, and maybe that is what we would talk about. Service to others, feminine; service to self, masculine. I don't necessarily agree with that, because I know a lot of masculine who are giving away, way too much right now. So
Mhm.
instead of thinking feminine and masculine, I'm thinking more service to self and service to others. There has to be that balance. And what's
Mhm.
happening right now is, for those people who are not taking care of themselves, they are finding the wake up calls, because there's the holdouts right now. There are
Mhm.
those that are holding out saying, I am just going to keep on giving and keep on giving. And as long as I keep giving, I know that it's going to show up for me someday.
Mhm.
And then you've got the others that are saying, oh my God, I can't do this by myself. I need help. I need help. And they're taking, they're taking the help. The
Mhm.
balance has to be struck.
Yes.
And there's the perfect example right there of how the universe is saying, Krystine, you have to learn how to receive as well. That's the service to self. That it's like programs, they're programs. And I'll tell you where that comes from. It
Mm.
comes from the control structures that we've had on our planet, which really wanted us all to serve, 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 serve. And
Yes.
it has created a slavery kind of mentality on the planet,
Mhm.
because we are always, we're programmed to feel guilty if we think of ourselves, think of others, think of others. So anyways, this is something that is happening right now, in this moment of now. And if you're listening to this message is also for you, because it doesn't matter what the astrological outlook is. If this message is coming up for you now and you're listening now, it means that this might have some significance for you. We are having to bring this all into balance. And we cannot go into the higher dimensions really unless we do. Because what happens if we don't give, to ourselves? We get fatigued, we get all kinds of health issues, and we stop being able to really give to others if we don't give to ourselves. And if we're too busy, thinking we're small and we need other people to take care of us, and we're looking to serve our own needs, then we are not experiencing our full power and potential. So that's
Mhm.
kind of the message, that I've been getting over this period of time. And thank you for, it is just one in many confirmations that I've been getting, that that's what is happening right now, and that's what's going to take us into that fifth dimensional energy.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
So,
Mm. We're not available for it. We're not open, and we don't see it coming. We're going to miss that boat. And
right.
I
Well,
know I don't want to miss it. I've got to be
right.
on that ship.
Well, I'm pretty sure that the energies aren't really going to allow us to. It's like everything is concentrated in, and it's kind of forcing the situation,
Mhm.
so that we have to. That is the major thing that I've seen, is that in places where we don't acknowledge it, that universe, it's just gonna keep pounding us over the head,
That's right.
literally,
Oh,
and
yes.
more and more and more discomfort until we can, move forward in that. So,
Yes.
yeah.
Yes.
So,
Well,
well,
I'm I am so glad that we got to have this conversation about uh, Reiki and how I
yes.
came into that. And I
Yeah.
can't wait to read your article. All of your articles are wonderful,
Oh,
um,
thank
and
you.
and your videos and everything that you do. I
Thank
admire,
you.
and you have a gift.
Well, we're getting ready to do some really interesting things with the Awakening Toolbox. And I'll talk about that just as I'm wrapping up. But yeah, the Awakening Toolbox, we have this vision of being able to support people who are awakening with information in different forms, from workshops through articles through shows like this,
Hmm.
and even in-person workshops, to support that awakening crowd on the planet that is basically going to want to explore their own divinity, their own authentic beings. And we're going to be providing ways for people to see, hey, it's not just me. There are other people out there that are also experiencing these things. And
Hmm.
to create a network of light where people can reach out and talk to people, or they can experience firsthand, well, I think I'll try a Reiki session. Let's see how that feels. I'm going
Hmm.
to go buy some crystals, and now I know what to do with them. Whatever it is, that's the mission of the Awakening Toolbox.
Hmm.
So, that's all part of this effort to educate. And I am just so grateful that you've taken the time to talk with us about this. I would love to have you back in the future just to, we can explore some further subjects. I
Hmm.
know that you are continuing to grow, and the areas that you're exploring continue to develop. So
Yeah.
it would be interesting to have you back at some point and see, where you've gone from here, if you will.
Oh, I would love to come back. Thank you so much for having me and giving me the opportunity to share my stories and my experiences. And I
Oh,
would love to
absolutely.
be able to help anyone who feels like they would benefit from a Reiki session with me.
Absolutely. And if you want to know more about Krystine, you can visit her website at zendenreikihealing.com, or you can follow her at Zenden Reiki Healing on Facebook. You can also message her if you have any questions or if you want to book a session and you're in the Atlanta area. I want to say thank you, Krystine, so much for joining me today on the Collective Awakening.
Thank you. Thank you, Debbie.
This week's Collective Awakening has been brought to you by the RVF Radio Network in conjunction with True Sacred Union's The Awakening Toolbox. Please follow our channel here on Blog Talk Radio if you'd like notifications of future shows. You can also contact me, Debbie DuBois, through True Sacred Union's The Awakening Toolbox on Facebook if you have any questions for me or my guest. Um, Check our Facebook page if you want to know more about upcoming programming. I stream this broadcast weekly on Sundays at 3 p.m. And I want to thank you so much for listening and being part of the collective awakening.